Okay, so we have a new variant, a new COVID variant. And boy, is the media just giddy about this. Wow. Who could have saw this coming? I mean, I was awake to this issue from the beginning. I'm wondering how an individual can continue to fall victim to the fear mongering here. So we have the new variant. Let's see. Let's see what the mainstream media is saying. Let's just go to CNN.com. Let's see what they got going on here. Okay. Oh, yeah. Top story. What we know about the new COVID variant. The World Health Organization designated the strain now named Omicron. What a name. So, fuck CNN. I just wanted to show you that they have, of course, plastered this all over the front page. But we have the World Health Organization right here. Pertinent information. Let's start with this one. As SARS-CoV-2 VOI is a SARS-CoV-2 variant, so they're calling it SARS-CoV-2 VOI. The colloquial name is going to be the Omicron variant. Why didn't they just call it what comes after Delta comes Echo, right? Maybe there's already been an Echo. After Echo comes Foxtrot. After Foxtrot comes Gamma. I think there already was a Gamma variant. So have they already gone through all the way to O? Why are they naming it? I'm just asking questions here. So we've had plenty of other variants that they haven't really talked about because this is a coronavirus, and coronaviruses are known to mutate frequently. This is something I could have told you a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I have the receipts to prove it. And I'm not the only one. People like Sticks, Hex, and Hammer were on top of it. He predicted right away in the beginning that this would become an endemic disease with seasonal variants, just like what? The common cold. Many of which are actually coronaviruses themselves. So this is as SARS-CoV-2 VOI is a SARS-CoV-2 variant with genetic changes that are predicted or known to affect virus characteristics such as transmissibility, disease severity, immune escape. This is their new buzzword, escape. Immune escape. It's escape. It escapes from our amazing vaccine. So did Delta variant, by the way. So did Delta variant definitely did. I don't know how effective the vaccines were against the original variant, but by the time the vaccines were really out there, the Delta variant was already circulating. So diagnostic and therapeutic escape, and this has been identified as causing significant community transmission, multiple clusters, multiple countries, blah, blah, and other apparent epidemiological impacts suggesting emerging risk for global public health. So, the World Health Organization, of course, really dropped the ball with the China issue, obviously. But, in a lot of cases, they have been actually on point throughout this. They advised against lockdowns. So that's one good thing that they actually did, that they actually put out there. Increased so as SARS-CoV-2 is a SARS-CoV-2 variant that meets the definition of a VOI. I don't know, that's some stupid words. VOI. What does VOI mean? Let's see if I could find what the definition of VOI is. It's not that relevant. It's just, who cares? We get the picture. Increase in virulence and change in disease presentation, decrease in effectiveness of public health and social measures or available diagnostics, vaccines, and therapeutics. So the World Health Organization is saying outright that it has been demonstrated to be associated with one or more of the following changes at a degree of global public health significance. So they're saying that it has demonstrated to be associated with a decrease in the effectiveness of vaccines. So what does, let's go to the Twitter. I stole that use of that word from Romanian TV. I like him. So here we go. Oh God, here we got the FBI. So as a side note, this look at Corbett Report. He did a really good presentation. I think it was on New World next week. He's talking about this sort of push to increase awareness of cybercrime, which he thinks will eventually be used to help control the internet, used as an excuse to increase controls on the internet. So that's something. Look at Corbett Report. Preferably use Odyssey. Don't go to YouTube. So let's go to our favorite fossil of a president, Joe Biden, and let's see what he said. Let's go to his actual page. Let's see what he said directly to the American people. Air travel restrictions. There was like a lot he was saying. Let's see. Let's go to like ABC News. This is great. Okay. I think it was on ABC News, and we'll scroll down, and they got this like new thing. The new trend that they do is they have a picture with all these words, all dramatic. So he's saying get more vaccine, get a vaccine. We got the Omicron variant, but we need you have to get vaccinated now. Get vaccinated. And somewhere in here we go. This is my favorite. The news about this new variant should make clearer that why the pandemic will not end. A lie. This pandemic will not end until we have global vaccinations. That's an outright lie. Anybody who believes that is a slobbering idiot. The United States said, okay, blah, blah, blah. We donated vaccines. Yeah, we donated vaccines, but our pharmaceutical companies refused to give the formula for the vaccines to anybody. And the United States protected them and covered their asses in that endeavor. Because it was all, so you can go in here, like let's just do this. This is going to be a little jumping around, but I'm going to try and connect it all together. Let's see if anything comes up. See, Pfizer, Moderna won't share the formula. Here's what's Yahoo News. I mean, they're literally saying it right here. Coming up with the 6 in a short time is an expensive feat. It's an expensive feat. It was all funded by taxpayer money. Operation Warp Speed. So basically, Pfizer and Moderna and all of these vaccine manufacturers have refused to give the to share the formula, to share the recipe for the vaccine. That should just further reinforce the further reinforce that this is about making profits. I've had a video before where I showed directly how much money these companies were making, how this is a profit generating enterprise right here, and you know they're not good people. They're not the good guys. The pharmaceutical companies are not the good guys. They never were. Somehow liberals forgot that in the last year and a half because they spend too much time glued to the TV and they let the propaganda get to them. I remember when liberals used to be totally against the against pharmaceutical companies. I mean, the flip flop in the whole attitude is really breathtaking. But so we have the WHO here saying, back to this, that basically they're saying, that they're saying it may decrease the effectiveness of the vaccines may be decreased in relation to this vaccine. Now, no one knows for sure yet, okay? Because first we have to test and see if the vaccines are not as effective, which they won't be, in my prediction. But guess who's going to test? Who's going to test the vaccines against this new variant? The vaccine companies. How about that? You can trust them, can't you? Pharmaceutical companies announced plans Friday to test their COVID-19 vaccines' efficacy against the newly designated Omicron variant of the virus. Okay. Moderna said it's going to test a higher dose, see if it works. Pfizer said they're going to test the vaccine's efficacy. So there's that. So don't worry, people. The vaccine manufacturers, who are motivated by profit, obviously, more than anything else, and who have gotten tied up in all sorts of fraud cases in the past, but they're going to test these vaccines. They're going to tell you whether they're effective or not. I mean, the WHO is already sure enough that they won't be as effective to say it in their statement, their initial statement. The WHO, like I said, they did some things right. They just dropped the ball big time with the China thing because obviously they were worried about angering China, just like every other institution in the world, every other corporation, and every government in the world. I mean, you can hardly blame them. I'm not saying I like the WHO. So then we have that. So, new variant plastered all over the front page of every corporate media outlet in the United States. Okay. Now, what was interesting is I was looking at the where was this? New York Times article, New York Slimes, and they said the variant of concern, designation, blah blah. Where was this thing at? So, and I heard about this, of course, but I wanted to actually give give an actual report to show that I'm not just talking out my ass. Omicron variant first came to light in Botswana. Okay, you saw that. Fuck you and your paywall. You saw it. Let me see if I can get it again. So Botswana. Okay. Oh, and now I just noticed this. There's a pre-printed article, not yet. Oh, that wasn't it. There was a pre-printed article that came out. So, this study Let's see if I could find a link to it. Preprint study. So it hasn't been peer reviewed yet. I'm sure they're not going to rush to get this peer reviewed. And once it gets peer reviewed, you won't hear about it at all. But there's a preprint study that there are no significant differences detected in duration of RT-PCR positivity among fully vaccinated participants versus those not fully vaccinated. So they did a study of prison inmates, because inmates in prison are perfect subjects for testing. And they found that there was no difference in the positivity rate between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated with the current variant. Imagine what's going to happen with the Omicron variant. It's already with the Delta variant. The effectiveness is questionable at best. But here we have Joe Biden saying, well, the answer is to get vaccinated. This is such a sham, folks. You know, I think that this time around, this is what, round 3 of the horror movie, the horror series that is COVID-19, the production, the horror production of COVID-19. This is round 3. And I think each time what's been happening, first time everybody went crazy, and Delta variant you saw a little less, much to the chagrin, a little less of a panic reaction among the population, much to the chagrin of the media for one, and many politicians for another. And now you're going to have even fewer people really buying into this, but you still have a significant portion of the population, mostly boomers, who will gobble up every scrap, every morsel of this fear porn. Okay, so that's where we're at. Round 3. Looks like the dark winter projections are coming true, at least partially, from all these people. It's going to be a dark winter. That's interesting that, a few months ago, what's his name, Fauci and others said it. Oh, it's going to be a dark winter. But here's the thing: is we're at Omicron variant, so we're up to are we up to the letter O? Let's see. 19 known variant. I didn't really research this before, so we got CDC. Oh, let's see all the variants we got. We got a variant being monitored. Oh, here we see we have what those sorts of those mean. Those VOI means variants of interest, variants of concern, variants being monitored. So we have all of these variants. Interesting. So we have many variants they didn't talk about. Really at any given time, the media can just say, well, our ratings are bad. Let's talk about COVID. So they go and find a variant that hasn't been really talked about in the news so much, and they say, oh, look at this, there's a variant. Let's put it on the, let's try and get some ratings, whatever. I don't know, it's just a thought. I remember they did that a while back, what they called it something like Delta Plus. So here we are, right? I don't think there's going to be a significant spike in vaccinations over this. I think the United States is still between 50 and 60% vaccination. My humble opinion is that with my natural immunity, I will be much better protected against this new variant than people who are vaccinated. That's my humble opinion. My humble opinion is that the vaccine only gives you the effect of having 2 antibodies, but the human body produces like 4 antibodies, all of which are important. When you're naturally infected, you get more variety of antibodies, including there's an antibody that they're not really sure how it works so much. And then there's an antibody that covers the lungs. Okay, that, to my knowledge, isn't produced through the vaccine. So we have this coming from Botswana. I want to know something. I want to know what the Botswanans are saying about this. Dude, stop for a second. Okay, Botswanan local news. Let's see what Botswana local news is saying. So we got the Voice of Botswana. Interesting. I wonder if they're corporate. So let's look and see what the top story is for the Voice of Botswana. Here we got this. A statement on a new COVID variant, but that's not the top story. Only one? It's the second top story, but not the top story. Huh. So the Botswanans aren't so concerned about it, are they? Let's see what's going on. Botswana, the Gazette. Oh, let's just look at random Botswana newspapers and see what they say. I probably won't be able to read this, but maybe we can infer. Oh, we got a. I thought we had a paywall. Well, they're talking about it. It's not the top story, though. It seems like this Botswanan Gazette has a different issue that's more important than COVID-19. The first Botswana newspaper I read, which looks like the biggest, it's the top, might be they got this 10 moding students accused of murder. Pretty rough. But yeah, so look, only one story about they're concerned about TB. Well, I don't blame them for being concerned about tuberculosis, I'll be honest. But you don't see anything else about COVID here, just that one story. Huh. Let's see what else I could find. Let's just find a good one. Sunday Standard. And this is cool, actually. I think this is pretty neat. I've been to Africa. The people are absolutely beautiful people there. I was in Congo, Goma. What a beautiful place. What beautiful people. So, such a beautiful, rich culture. And I'll tell you, what I've seen of Goma recently is that it looks really nice there. The city is so clean. And these people are such hardworking people and just so much gratitude in these people. But anyway, I wasn't in Botswana, though. I was in Congo. So a little bit different in the heart of Africa, the beating heart of Africa it was. Look, they're not saying much. Let's see. Sunday Standard. So that's a Sunday newspaper. So I guess, no, this is dated today. Nothing about COVID. Huh. I love it. Nothing about COVID. They don't seem so concerned. What is this the same one? Let's look at the Botswana Gazette. They don't seem so concerned about COVID over there. Look at this. Not so concerned about COVID, are they? And anybody who's been following this understands Africa has a very low vaccination rate, and for some reason, COVID doesn't seem to be so big of a problem over there. Aren't they? Wasn't there an argument over here that people of African descent in the United States are more susceptible to COVID? Doesn't seem to be the case over in Africa. I have some theories about that. First of all, as we saw in one of those other newspapers, I forget which one now, they're much more concerned about tuberculosis in some cases than COVID-19. Tuberculosis kills a lot of people every year. They got things like malaria there. A lot of people there are pretty resistant to malaria, obviously. But so Botswana is not so concerned, it seems. Let's go. Let's get more results. Let's see what we got. We got the Weekend Post. Let's see what we got on the Weekend Post. I mean, this is actually really cool. political stuff. Nothing at all about COVID, right? Wow. What does that tell you, people? What does that tell you? Why do they not care about it? If it's such a deadly disease, such a dangerous disease, why aren't they that concerned about it? What's really going on here? People, it's fear mongering. Let's round it off with one more thing here. We had the stock market. Some people are calling it a crash. I mean, come on, 2% is not a crash. Uh, but yeah, DJI. We got S&P here. Pretty rough day. Look at treasuries. A lot of people buying treasury bonds today, aren't they? Mm. You know, because we don't want yields to go up too high, obviously, right? So let's look at the TTX. I haven't really been paying attention to treasuries as much. Let's look at the 1 month. Let's look at the 1 week, 5 day. You started to see this slide. We were going up. We were going up. We hit a plateau. And we start to see this slide. We were getting close again to, we were over 2. We were at 203. And then all of a sudden, fancy that, there's a, boom, coronavirus. I think news started to emerge about the coronavirus right around the time this started to go down. And you know, the bond market people are they're ahead of the curve. They know what's going on in the world. For those people that still trade in bonds, Jeff Gundlach said months ago on this interview, no one in their right mind should be in the bond market, but there's still people there, and they're usually on top of it. Look at that. Bonds go down, and as we know, every time we get up to about 2 and some change on the 30-year, we start to see a sell-off or a buy. No, not a sell-off. A buying push. So, and we have this, which you know where this is headed. You should know where this is headed. The question on everybody's mind would be, is the Fed going to stop tapering? Because, you know, a lot of banks, a lot of large zombie companies, powerful people, they don't want the Fed to taper. MMT people, pretty much everybody left of center, they don't want the Fed to taper. So here we got, what's going on? Tell me. So can you comment? Are you still going to do the taper, Bostic? I didn't know he was an African American. He's pretty solid too. This guy is actually, from what I see, he's fairly solid. I wish he was chairman of the Federal Reserve instead of Powell, but Powell's a sycophant, so they love him. Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta President Raphael Bostic played down the risk of the new COVID-19 variant on the U.S. economy and said he was open to scaling back asset purchases at a faster pace to keep inflation in check. I am very open to accelerating the pace of our slowdown in purchases, Bostic, a voter this year on the policy-setting Federal Reserve Open Market Committee, told Fox News in an interview Friday. For me, early second quarter, late first quarter of 2022 are all in play as reasonable alternatives for when we might stop our purchases if the economy's momentum continues as it has over the last several months. Well, you know, there you go. He gave himself an out because the economy's momentum is not going to continue as it has over the last several months. I think we're hitting a growth plateau. I think fourth quarter is going to be close to zero growth. We'll see what happens there. Just like Chairman Powell said, they point back to this mandate of full employment, which the Fed shouldn't even be involved in the employment market. But he gave himself an out over the last few months. He always gives himself an out. I think that they're going to keep pushing. The reporters, the banks, the politicians are going to keep pushing to delay the taper. After all, Fed Reserve Chairman Powell's nomination is coming up in February. They can use this as a great talking point and threaten to derail his nomination. Or does he need 60 votes? I think he does need 60 votes. So that's a lot of votes. So it wouldn't take too many people to threaten, in the Senate, to threaten his, let's see, Fed chair nomination number of votes. Let's just make sure we got this right. Okay. Fed chair nomination votes needed. I don't think it's a simple up or down vote, is it? Gosh, I don't know. That would take some research, but I'm assuming it's 60 votes. Aren't all? Maybe it's 50, but I think Fed chair nomination. I don't know. I think it's 60, but maybe that's just for judges. Maybe they only need 50. I think it's 60. So if Fed Reserve Powell needs 60 and this variant gets, if they manage to create a new panic over this variant, then that could threaten Fed Chair Powell's nomination. Okay. And they're going to push him to stop the taper. That's one thing that can happen. So that's where I wanted to tie this all to, is that we have a new variant. Of course, the media is going to use it to their advantage as much as possible, get ratings. And then we have the politicians and this, the vaccine salesmen like Biden are out there saying, well, we should get vaccinated. That's the answer, right? However, WHO has already said there's reason to believe that that the vaccines will be even less effective against this variant. They've created a new buzzword called escape variant to kind of highlight the fact that it escapes immunity. I mean, there's lots of common colds that do that too, by the way. Okay, so we got all this going on. Botswana doesn't give a goddamn, even though it was discovered in Botswana. Well, they got, like I said, you have some newspapers that put it as their second or third story, and some newspapers that ignore it entirely. But that's pretty much been the case with Africa. Because those are tough people and those are smart people. They're not idiots like most Westerners seem to be. Living a harder life, and also they live a harder life, and living a harder life, actually, you need to be a smarter person to survive down there. In the United States, any idiot can survive and live their entire lives. So we got that. They don't seem to care. And then we got the Fed. They're already poking the Fed Reserve people, and I think that's going to become more of an issue. First of all, we already had in my opinion, the prospect of close to 0% GDP growth for the fourth quarter. I made that prediction about a month ago. But this would be a very fine excuse, right? So this would be good for the politicians to excuse the fact that their policies have really put the economy was always destined to go to shit, but they've pretty much nixed any chance of recovery with all the stupid regulations, the vaccine mandates. They got the whole talking point, Great Resignation, to try and cover up for the fact that a lot of people who've left the workforce did so because of the vaccine mandates. All of these regulations causing logistics problems, but now we can blame the new variant. So I'm glad I live in Florida, because here in Florida, we're not going to go down that road again. We're going to live our lives, okay? We're going to be reasonable, rational, and you idiots in fucking New York. First of all, half of the New Yorkers are here right now. They seem to like it here just fine. All that shit they were talking. The Californians, thank God they're too far away. The only reason they come here is to go to Disney World because their Disneyland sucks. Is it even still around? I don't even know. So they, not that I'm a fan of Disney World. So thank God they're far away. The New Yorkers are I would think, are a little bit more reasonable than the Californians anyway. But they're down here. They seem to like it just fine. They come down here all the time, spreading their fucking all sorts of diseases. They like it. You can tell them. You can see them sometimes. You can see that when the Northerners are coming down because they're all wearing masks. They're looking around like frightened children. This has really fucked some people in the head. So here we are. All right, so that's my spiel for today. I hadn't done a video in a while, but it's hard for me to make a video when I have nothing really to talk about, and I've been working pretty hard. So that's the spiel. The new variant. Everybody hunker down. Like I said, I don't think it's going to get the sort of response that even the last round of this shit did. But everybody's going to try and use it. They're going to play it out until they look absolutely pathetic. Okay, so I am out.